Welcome to this week's edition of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman. We have a fun-packed show, so to speak. Not much going on in the world that's much fun these days, other than our making a few jokes every now and then just to keep us light. But we have Judah Friedman, of course, the host of The World According to Ben Stein, my friend, a colleague, who's somebody who is very astute in terms of political analysis. And of course, we have Laura Loomer on later in the show, a Jewish American activist who has fought against terrorism and who was involved in trying to help President Trump be reelected. I thought it'd be interesting to get her take on what's been going on with regard to the primaries and the elections. Of course, it's Super Tuesday, this Tuesday, March 5th, and that'll be very interesting. But let's talk first about what's going on at the border. I want to get Judah's thoughts. We'll then talk about Trump. We'll talk about J6. We'll talk about Fani Willis, and we'll talk about Jack Smith. We'll talk about the documents case, and we'll talk about burgeoning crime in this country. But Judah, I want to get your take on Joe Biden's appearance at the border earlier this week. Of course, he shows up in Brownsville. That's not the epicenter of illegal immigration. He can barely walk. In fact, looking at the video, it was pathetic. I mean, it was almost humorous, sadly humorous, that the Border Patrol people had to walk so slowly. I don't think they thought it was possible that they could walk that slowly to keep up with Joe Biden. Earlier in the week, he's eating ice cream. It kind of, I don't know, it's kind of disgusting to watch him lick an ice cream cone. But many things are going on with Joe Biden. I think the Democrats are going to remove him fairly shortly. We'll have probably Gavin Newsom, you may disagree with me on that, and/or Michelle Obama as a vice presidential candidate. And I know that our listeners get angry with me when I say this, but I'm just trying to be a realist here, is that I don't think that President Trump is a shoo-in to be elected president. Of course, I don't tell people who to vote for. I can't do that as head of a public interest group. But should they put Gavin Newsom in and/or Michelle Obama or someone else other than Kamala Harris as a vice president, it will be a very close election. And frankly, I would predict the Democrats will retain control if that happens. So you can give me your thoughts on that, because unfortunately, not our supporters and not your supporters, but the American people are not the sharpest knife in the drawer. They vote for people that look good rather than substance. And, this is a problem. And of course, we've got Trump going into a number of legal matters that, of course, energizes his base in terms of the primaries. And you also have Nikki Haley out there. We can talk about that. There were some thoughts that she might be forming a third party just to do a number on Trump during the election. There are all these variables, and I don't think it's a done deal. I don't. As much as in my heart, without telling people who to vote for, I hope that Trump wins, is that I think we have to be prepared to do it for ourselves in terms of trying to get this country back and make it great again. We cannot rely on a political messiah. There's too much uncertainty out there right now, and we've got quite a ways to go before January 20th, 2025. So anyway, give me your thoughts. I know you disagree with that, but that's...
No, I disagree with it because the polling disagrees with it. So I think obviously Trump is a shoo-in to get the Republican nomination. I don't think there's any doubt of that. And she can't just take his electorates. So even if something were to happen, this idea that she would come it doesn't go to the second place. It doesn't go to the second place winner. But if you go by polling, Gavin Newsom's behind in Pennsylvania by 15 points. That's that's a monumental thing to come back from. The people of Pennsylvania aren't stupid. But to your original point about Texas, where Biden went, that was actually the epicenter of illegal immigration, or is that now they call it? I'm not kidding either. I don't know if you saw the story.
Well, it's not currently the epicenter,
right? But they're calling them newcomers. But that's the new term for illegals, is newcomers. So he went to where was the epicenter, where now, because of what Greg Abbott did with the razor wire and everything that he did over there, Biden went to where they may get 12 a day. This is they've boxed themselves in And that's why I'm confident. You're right. The one person you're right about is Michelle Obama. That's the one person where you're really that they could put in. So that's where that's the person that probably that's the variable that scares me the most. It's why I think Trump should probably be seriously looking into RFK Jr. as much as I'm not a fan of that necessarily.
Well, with regard to Newsom, people don't really know who Newsom is yet. Okay, see, particularly in Pennsylvania. If you live in California or do work there or whatever, then you know what a disaster this guy is. But the fact is that he's an attractive looking guy, some people think. He's got a good personality. He knows how to deflect with a laugh or whatever. He was beaten handily by Ron DeSantis in the debate with Hannity. But yet the results of the polling show that it wasn't a rout because he is very good on his feet. And just the thought of some guy who's fairly young, who's attractive, is going to have great appeal. And I'm only saying this because a lot of people in this country are just rocking back, including some of our supporters, thinking, okay, let's just wait till Trump wins. Well, think about what's also going to happen when he wins. There'll be more lawsuits. The Democrats control district attorneys. They control other aspects of the legal system, which has been totally corrupted. You've got people who have frankly, abandoned him and have betrayed him, that he has brought around him. Historically, he does that. And however good he may be, and again, I like the guy. I don't like what he says. I don't like some of his comments, and he makes some dumb remarks every now and then, but his heart's in the right place. He's street smart. But it is not a certainty that he will be elected president. In fact, I still think that the odds are against him because you're also going to see massive fraud by the Democrats, and they control the ability to do that.
All right, back to me.
Yeah, back to you.
You're right about that. You're right. The spread has to be 3 to 5. No matter what state he's in, every swing state, he has to have a 3 to 5 point spread of being above, right? So he's got what that means is he has to have the 3 to 5. He has to be without the margin of error. Otherwise, we know what shenanigans they could pull. And we also know what shenanigans they're going to pull post if he wins. I had this up. There was an organization that was set up by the great minds, and I'm kidding about that, obviously. And it was it was war game scenarios pre-2020. They had 4 different levels of whether Trump won or not, and you could Google it. And it's actually on Wikipedia. I don't believe Wikipedia except when it's on the left, Larry. But it was Bill Kristol, Podesta, a bunch of those people were part of this war game strategy in case he won. So we're looking at if he wins, and that really is election interference, is again threatening the American population. If he gets in, this is what's going to happen for 4 years.
It will. And so while I don't ascribe good intentions to Nikki Haley, frankly, she's becoming like a broken record. She gets on my nerves just listening to her. But she is right about that, and the next 4 years are going to be as difficult as the last 4 years. In fact, they'll probably be even more difficult with him in office. So I just want the American people to understand, and I've offered my help to Donald Trump legally, for many years, for a variety of reasons, probably Roger Stone or whatever I've had lawsuits with on behalf of clients and personally. I haven't really been able to help him the way I would like to help him in a legal sense. And I think he needs, in many respects, better legal representation. I was watching his lawyer today in front of the Fani Willis matter down in Atlanta. My former Emory Law School colleague, Craig Gillen, one of the finest criminal defense lawyers in this country, did an excellent job pointing out how Fani Willis was playing the race card and the religion card to deflect from the fact that she had lied under oath about having this conflict of interest with her paramour, okay, whose name I forget. I really don't care who his name is. So Craig did a great job, but Trump's lawyer was terrible, absolutely terrible, a criminal defense lawyer down there in Atlanta. and he never hires, the best. I think Alina Habit did a very good job. She's been unfairly attacked because she did do a good job and because she'll stand up and she believes in Trump. And those are the kinds of people that he needs. Now, Gillen wasn't representing Trump. He was representing someone else who was a criminal defendant down there. But, I hate to be Doomsday Nelly or whatever you want to call it, but the American people need to sober up. They just cannot sit back and wait for politicians to save them. And we need to rise up, and that's why they should go to Freedom Watch. They should support what we're doing. We are, in effect, your Justice Department. We're doing more than even that. We have our citizens' grand juries, our citizens' trials. We have hard-hitting cases against Communist Chinese for COVID-19. We're J6. We're defending clients there who are basically some, are really behind the 8 ball with crazy judges there that want to, lynch them, essentially. And also with regard to our case in Northern District of Florida, where we're trying to get everything invalidated because of illegal surveillance on the J6 people and many, many other things. So I hope people will go to freedomwatchusa.org, contribute with tax-deductible contributions. We need more lawyers, paralegals. We need to get bigger. And I hope that, we do get somebody in the White House that will represent us like Trump, but we can't count on it. And that's the point that I'm trying to make. We'll be right back with the second segment of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman. Until then, go to freedomwatchusa.org, get my book. It Takes a Counter-Revolution, Wake Up America. Please donate with tax-deductible contributions. We need the help right now. And give some thought as to whether you need to rise up and not wait on a politician to do the job that the American people must do. I'll be right back. We're back with Judah Friedman. Let's talk about, Judah, the specifics. The Supreme Court has decided to take up the issue of whether President Trump has immunity with regard to what happened on January 6th, and also potentially with regard to the document issue and the trial in South Florida. Now, I've taken the position that presidents should have immunity, no federal officials should have immunity, judges shouldn't have immunity, that no one is above the law. I don't believe that President Trump needs immunity. He didn't do anything wrong on January 6th. He of course, asked people to go over to protest and show their strength, but he also told them to be peaceful. And he also told Nancy Pelosi that she ought to get National Guard there just in case. So I think it would be wrong, and I frankly don't believe that Supreme Court is likely to agree on immunity. I think they'll peel away one or two of the so-called conservatives, probably John Roberts, on that. Give me your thoughts on that. Then I want to talk about Fani Willis quickly, because I was watching this hearing today. We talked about it a little bit in the first segment, but it's a very interesting set of facts. You've got Jack Smith, deranged Jack Smith, who wants to go to trial in May with regard to the documents. That's not likely to happen. You've got a New York prosecution, criminal prosecution of Trump coming up on March 25th. That'll begin with the prosecutor there over Stormy Daniels. And it's just everything seems to be piling up. Now, the president may make it past the election in some respects, but he won't make it totally past the election. And so give me your thoughts on that. And this must have been the president calling right now.
That's a lot to unpack in one thing. I listen, he's beyond the corner of screwed and screwed. I mean, let's be honest with all these cases in all of these different jurisdictions, Larry. And it doesn't matter whether he's guilty or innocent, as we've witnessed with aside, the Jack Smith thing doesn't scare me as much. I think they could probably delay that, but all the prosecutors going after him who just happen to be black, I'll say that. You don't have to say that. I do believe this is a race thing. I do believe this, to quote Ben, they've obviously turned this into a racialized nation, and there's no there in any of these cases, yet it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. So the people, yeah, we believe he's innocent. We know he's innocent. But what we're learning is more and more, like you've been saying for God knows how many years, innocence doesn't matter. It doesn't matter in these places.
Not in today's world. There was an article yesterday with regard to Judge Royce Lamberth, who I used to have a lot of faith in and respect for, and he's been going crazy against J6 defendants, making all kinds of remarks, disparaging politicians that support the J6 defendants, saying that George Washington said you had to obey the established government, which is almost laughable. I mean, our founding fathers did not obey King George III when he wouldn't come to his senses. But there was an article about how he's getting death threats. Nobody wants that to happen. We wish him well. But this is the natural result of what's been going on in this country. People see that the federal judges in particular don't represent them, but represent those special interests and establishment interests that put them on the bench. And therefore, you can't predict what's going to happen in these trials. And when you're talking about the District of Columbia and New York, they're hanging juries when they go to the juries. If these cases proceed before the election, 100% Trump is convicted. Doesn't matter what the law is. It doesn't matter what the witnesses are. It doesn't matter what the facts are. Dershowitz has said that too. I know I've mispronounced his name all the time, but he's cooked. You got these bar associations trying to disbar conservative lawyers who stand up for conservative values, all leftist Democrats. Jeffrey Clark was involved in the case in Georgia, the bar counsel, Hamilton Fox, who's a real piece of work. What a dishonest piece of you-know-what. Went crazy the other day when miraculously the DC Court of Appeals, which is very leftist itself, said that Clark didn't have to turn over some documents under the right of self-incrimination. There is no law anymore. There is no justice anymore. And that is why these judges are getting death threats. And we don't want to see that happen. That shouldn't happen. But people are beginning to recognize just how broken our legal system is. We'll be right back with Laura Loomer. Stay tuned. We're back with Laura Loomer, a very courageous conservative activist. She's taken on terrorists before. She's taken on Rashida Tlaib, Ilham Omar, a whole lot of them up on Capitol Hill. Fearless, taken on Hillary Clinton, taken on Twitter, taken on Facebook. We went all the way to the Supreme Court a number of years ago with regard to a social media case that we brought, an antitrust lawsuit, Freedom Watch, and Laura. But Laura's also been doing work in and around Donald Trump. She's down there in South Florida. She's run for political office herself. And I thought it would be interesting because we've dedicated a lot of this show to prognostication on what could likely happen in November of 2024. We've given our opinion. We won't bore you with that. It's good to have different opinions. But Laura, give us your take on what's going on with Donald Trump, going on with Super Tuesday, which is coming up, and the task of trying to defeat the Democrats in light of what we all know was fraud in 2020.
Well, it seems like every single time President Trump faces another indictment or a sensational court hearing, or whenever any of these prosecutors or corrupt district attorneys or attorney generals who are trying to destroy his life and put him in prison during an election year in the news, as we saw today with the hearing to disqualify Fani Willis, he only soars in popularity. He is doing incredibly well. He trounced Ron DeSantis. He destroyed Nikki Haley in her own home state of South Carolina. And this coming Tuesday is Super Tuesday. And so President Trump is predictably going to, dominate once again in Super Tuesday states on the ballot as the GOP candidate of choice by majority of the MAGA voters who are participating in these primary elections. And then in Florida, of course, on the 19th, we're going to have the Florida GOP primary. Everybody knows that President Trump is going to be the nominee, except the media, except the GOP establishment that is working day in and day out to try to stop him. Right? I mean, why is there not more of an outrage about Nikki Haley staying in the race? And why is there not more pressure encouraging her to drop out when it's very obvious that President Trump is going to be our nominee? And so, unfortunately, right, this is the name of the game. It's a weaponized justice system, and I suppose we're just going to have to watch these witch hunt trials continue to play out, and we're going to have to watch the GOP continue to waste hundreds of millions of dollars when they could otherwise be investing that money into supporting President Trump and fighting weaponized government.
Well, at least they're getting rid of Ronna McDaniel, who's been an unbelievable loser. I don't know why she's been in that post as the head of the RNC. so long. But Laura, nobody doubts the fact that Trump's going to get the nomination for president. But suppose they get rid of Biden, which they're clearly going to do. I mean, they're going to get rid of him one way or the other. Either they give him something and he doesn't wake up one morning, the Democrats, where they force him out and tell him,
I'm waiting for that. Honestly, I'm waiting for the day that we wake up. I'm not saying that I hope he dies, but I am waiting because one of these days I feel like we're going to wake up to a story about, well, Joe Biden had a really bad fall last night and he hit his head and he's at Walter Reed in critical condition. Or, we're going to wake up to a story about him, a pillow being over his face, like the Supreme Court justice, right?
Yeah, still, yeah.
It's going to happen, I feel. Or Hunter Biden is going to snort some fentanyl-laced cocaine, and Joe Biden is going to accuse the Republicans of pushing his son to an overdose, which is what he's already doing now, because we can't have any accountability, right? And he's going to say, oh, the pain of losing a son is just too much, and I'm not going to run. I'm not going to run. But the way that the DNC has structured their rules is that their convention is in August. The DNC could actually just hand select somebody. They don't even have to have them win the primary. They could actually appoint somebody at their convention in August if Joe Biden were to step down. And there's a lot of rumors that may be Michelle Obama. It could be Gavin Newsom. We saw yesterday that President Trump, while speaking at the southern border in the dueling visit with Joe Biden, finally gave Gavin Newsom his own nickname of New Scum. So I think it's going to be Gavin Newsom or Michelle Obama. But
it will be. And
yeah.
I was saying to Judah, I don't tell people who to vote for, okay, as head of a public interest group, although people obviously can figure out who I vote for, okay? And I like President Trump, and I've tried to help him in the last 4 years. I haven't been able to do it directly. I do it indirectly with cases that I bring, which, would benefit, allowing someone to, frankly, just to live. They're trying to kill him in terms of the legal system. But if it is a Gavin Newsom, if it is a Michelle Obama, if it is somebody who's young and attractive or someone who's on the right side of the racial fence, I don't think it's a done deal that he wins the general election, with or without trials before November. And I've been telling the American people that that's why you need people like Laura Loomer and people like Judah Friedman or people like Larry Klayman or some of my clients, all of my clients, to really be activists, because we can't rely upon any politician to save us. And in this case, I think it's very speculative that Trump will win the general election. But I'm going to get your thoughts too. Judah, weigh in with after Laura, Judah, and you can give us your thoughts in context of what she's saying. Laura?
Judah. Well, I thought Judah was going to chime in first.
No. I listen. I agree with getting back to, because Laura missed it at the beginning of the show. This is where I disagree, Larry. I've learned a lot from you, and I trust your court acumen like nobody else in the world. But Gavin, as Trump now calls him, New Scum, does not have a shot in hell of becoming the next president. He's 15 points down in Pennsylvania. This is the same state that voted in, thank God, John Fetterman. Okay, I'm very grateful for the great state of Pennsylvania.
It's now become a Republican.
I'm very grateful that they got Fetterman in, because I take Fetterman over Oz any day of the week. I don't care if he still supports Biden, but Newsom doesn't have a shot in hell. When you're down 15 points, it's a lot of points. He does have name recognition because of Hannity. And to what Laura's saying is the only viable one is Michelle Obama because of intersectionality. You have to replace Kamala with somebody of equal or greater importance on the intersectionality scale. And unless Newsom comes out of the closet, he does not fit that mold. It's got to. Sorry?
I'll turn it over to Laura quickly. Just tell her what I said, is that people outside of California and the left don't really know Gavin Newsom, which is good because his record is so bad.
Well, I think that after COVID,
he's an attractive guy. He's young, and he's likable. Okay, even I don't have the visceral reaction I have towards him that I had to Bill Clinton. Okay, he doesn't. There's something about Newsom. It doesn't rub you the wrong way, and at least it doesn't rub me the wrong way. And I think this is something that needs to be taken into account. And it's early And you really can't tell how that's going to react during a general election. But either way, whether it's Michelle Obama as president or vice president, Gavin Newsom, I think that will be the ticket in the end.
Well, and that's the thing. I think that a lot of people came to hear about Gavin Newsom after the recall and also, too, his draconian COVID policies. But you're right. I think that he, unfortunately, because he's a good looking guy with charisma and he's a smooth talker, I think that he's, when I say a good politician, not good at what he does in the sense that his policies are bad, but if a politician's purpose is to be a perpetual bullshit artist and to uh keep getting reelected based off of your ability to convince people that you are actually acting in their best interest, then he's a good politician, right? Because I've never seen a guy with more anti-liberty policies continue to, beat a recall. I see he's facing another recall as of 2 days ago, and to continue to climb the ladder politically all the way up from what, mayor of San Francisco, to now governor of California and possible Democrat presidential nominee. So
I was about to say a joke, but I don't know who knows the person, so I won't say who his great beard was to help him launch. But again, but going back to what Laura's saying,
you think he's gay? Are you saying that Gavin Newsom is gay?
I'm saying he had a great beard for a
He's
while.
he's known to be bisexual. Okay,
I've heard he's bisexual. I've heard that he's
Okay, let me tell you as a guy, Laura, there's no such thing. And I don't know how graphic I'm allowed to be on Larry's show.
There's the definition of being bisexual is
graphic
called
as
being
he wants.
No, well, there's the old
being
joke. You could build
selfish.
there's the old joke. You could build 1,000 bridges and you could.
You're saying you can't be a little bit pregnant to put
You're
it.
not going to be known as a bridge builder.
This is not a family show, so just say it. Go ahead and say it.
But it actually is. Don't worry about it anyway.
No, but
I
I listen, what do I know? I don't know. I don't know a lot about a lot, but I do know that the people around this country, listen, I'm just going to give 3 initials. And I'm sure Laura will agree with me on this, that Republicans have to hit hard because it's being hit hard in places in California where I'm actually able to set up huge events right now. And those 3 initials are DEI. Now, DeSantis today fired all the DEI employees. Hopefully that holds up. If Republicans continually hit this, if Trump's surrogates could hit this, he doesn't know how to. I love Trump. I don't know if he has an understanding of DEI, but DeSantis, Vivek, Laura are the ultimate surrogates in explaining to America what DEI is, because parents are scared to death. Laura, I could be totally incorrect on this, but.
Well, look, I think that Ron DeSantis saw firsthand that his obsession with DEI and woke wasn't going to be enough to carry him across the finish line. Unfortunately, he thought that he was going to be able to turn every single American into a single voter issue as it relates to DEI and woke ideology. But that wasn't the case. Yes, it is problematic. And yes, President Trump has spoken out about DEI. And yes, I think that DEI is having a negative effect on our society, and we need to eradicate it, and we need to ban affirmative action. But right now, we have bigger issues than DEI. We have the issue of this mass invasion of our country. We have the issue of voter fraud. We have the issue of weaponized government. And so, yeah, certainly Gavin Newsom could be a poster child for DEI in the sense that, he's pushed these catastrophic policies, and, he wants to integrate illegal aliens into the workforce. And, these are all subsets, right, of DEI policies or the DEI agenda. But I think that President Trump has a strong understanding of DEI, and Vivek Ramaswamy has endorsed him, and he's a surrogate and has spoken out about this on the campaign trail with him. And President Trump has said numerous times over and over again during his rallies that he wants to restore merit. He wants to restore merit and defund institutions that refuse to comply with like proper standards as it relates to education and that are pushing DEI policies. He said that.
No, I agree. I think DEI is the cause and everything else is the symptom. What I was simply saying was they have the reason you have surrogates is because it's not a knock on anybody. Everybody has a different wheelhouse. And you're really good at explaining it. Vivek is really good at explaining it, at breaking it down to its cellular level. And that's why surrogates, and he should just leave these certain things to surrogates sometimes, because they do an amazing job. So I believe in surrogates, and I'm happy that DeSantis has come around. That's all I'm saying. It's not that he doesn't understand it. It's just that it's easier for other people sometimes.
Well, let me throw something in here. I agree that what Laura said about politicians. Trump is not a politician by nature. He says what he thinks, and that's his great, I think, attribute that can sell. But the problem that we have here is that most of the American people don't vote on the basis of substance. They vote on the basis of looks or other factors. I mean, how did Biden ever get elected? Can anybody ever figure that one out other than fraud?
Yeah, fraud.
There's no way.
Fraud.
So if he could get elected, then you can get Newsom and or Michelle Obama or some other clown elected. You know, so this is why I tell the people, we'll talk about it in the verdict section, don't hang back and wait for someone else to do the job the American people need to do. Laura's out there doing it. You're out there doing it, Frida, Judah, and others. And that's the message that I have for today. We'll be right back with the verdict section of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman. Until then, Laura, thank you for everything you do. God bless you. Thanks for coming. We're back for the verdict section of Special Prosecutor of Larry Klayman. Fellow patriots, people of faith, those who believe in the vision and creation of our founding fathers, as I always say. We are facing a major crime crisis in this country today. We really need to protect the police. We need to do something about it. Your Freedom Watch has cases that we brought in Philadelphia with police that were fired because of social media postings that were reinstated. Cases still going on with regard to damages. We need to protect police departments. They're currently under, many of them, the major cities, under consent orders where they have no room to actually fight against criminals. We've got DAs, such as the one in Los Angeles, Gascon, who wants to be reelected with George Soros money. One in Philadelphia, Larry Krasner, who's just as bad as Gascon. Many, many, many. We've got this woman, an illegal immigrant, killed this young co-ed at the University of Georgia, a tragedy. She's not the only one that has been victimized by all of this. So I want you to support Freedom Watch, because we are putting a special emphasis on representing and protecting the police, because our country is out of control. You can be sitting at a cafe in Beverly Hills or in New York City or Philadelphia or whatever, and wind up with a knife in your back. People are stealing from companies that you work for. You can get caught in between, you know, the mayhem and everything else. And this is something that I want you to give great emphasis to. So go to freedomwatchusa.org. And we also have another organization that I founded with Sheriff Joe Arpaio, americassheriff.org. That's the website. And please contribute to that as well, because it's only going to get worse. And again, electing President Trump is not going to end the crime. There's so much that has gone on so far that to arrest it is going to take years. And we really need to protect our police and give them the legal defense when they are attacked. Judah, give me your thoughts on the crime situation.
I mean, the crime, it's atrocious. This idea that, you know, it's always the idea that, well, how many illegals, and one is too many. One is too many. Doesn't really matter. One is too many. One woman dying, two women dying because of our horrific illegal immigration policy. Cops have been neutered in New York City. They're not allowed to act. Larry, we don't really have much of a constitution anymore. I know that's what you fight for every day of your life, but we've pretty much lost what we hold dear right now. I'm not under the guise that President Trump is going to come in and be like super, raising. This is a 30-year task we have ahead of us right now, and it's so important to you because obviously you have family members,
yeah,
and it's important to me because for the future. So this isn't just a 4-year thing. That's why Freedom Watch is so important, because this has to go on for generations.
I hope you'll support us. We really need the strong support. I'm not someone that easily asks for donations or money. Probably why I didn't win when I ran for the Senate in Florida. I was always shy about doing that. But when you need it, and we need it right now, and we need to get bigger, and we need to be stronger. And we need more people working with us because we don't have an honest legal system. It's corrupt to the core. We have a Justice Department that's working against the American people, more like a Gestapo, a Hitler-esque Gestapo. We have federal judges who have been co-opted, compromised, and are corrupt, particularly in the District of Columbia, which is probably the most vile place in this country, bar none. I mean, I got to go back there from time to time, Jude. I hate doing it, really. I just get a sick feeling of what goes on in that town. And I think we need to move our capital to another place. Just let those criminals in Washington commit crimes against each other. And
I agree. Can I say one thing before?
Yeah, go ahead. We got.
I just want to say the reason why DEI is so important and why I'll keep repeating this and why people don't necessarily understand. We know that abortion has been a huge issue that the left has weaponized against the right. DEI, I have seen this, and obviously it's anecdotal data, but I've never seen more parents scared to death in the United States because of what's being indoctrinated.
What is DEI? Just say that. Okay.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yeah, it's
and
basically it's reverse racism. That's what it is.
And I've never seen more parents scared than they are of DEI. So I'll leave it with that.
Yeah, and well, thank you, everybody that supports us. Thank you from the bottom of our heart. I really want to thank you for continuing to do that. And I want you to join us at freedomwatchusa.org and be part of the solution, not part of the problem. And remember, the Father and Son will only help us if we help ourselves. Thank you for listening to us. We'll be back next week with another edition of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman.